Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 10 of the Wine Down. That's 10 bottles of wine, we just realized. Yep, when we get to 100, we're going to throw a big party. Mm-hmm.
We've got a unique idea for you.
We do have a unique idea for you, but we wouldn't want to give that away, would we?
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet. That's a surprise. So stick with us for 100 episodes. Wow. Okay, let's get to the wine. All right, here. I'm gonna pour you a glass. Do you want to talk about what wine we're drinking?
Sure. Okay. We are drinking a Vittiano, and it's just a Rosso Italiano, so it's a nice red table wine.
Oh,
a little blend situation.
Okay. Here we go. Pouring wine on camera. Someone's gonna be like, she's not doing it right. And you can leave a comment if you want. You can help me. It's very awkward. Try it, seriously. Makes me nervous.
But you know what's less awkward is drinking wine on camera.
Well, yeah, you'd think. But cheers. Oh yeah, that tastes like Friday.
Mm-hmm. Fridays.
Yeah.
They just hit differently.
Yeah, a lot of coffee. Now the wine. You know what I mean? It's very good. So we're going to be talking about a few of the shows that aired this week and kind of giving our own little perspective on it.
Yeah, some of the topics that they brought up were pretty interesting to kind of think about how they
apply to our lives, your lives. So let's get started. We're going to talk about mortgage Q&A because AJ talked about shopping for the best interest rate, which it's kind of an important episode right now because we're seeing interest rates on the rise. And he gave us a lot of tips, which, again, are really important right now. Mm-hmm. And I did the interview, so I should remember this. He's a very smart man. And he said shopping for a lender that will give you the best rate is really important. And he says, well, his tip was to shop for take three. And you need to do it in the same day because as we have learned, interest rates change by the hour.
Right.
So your only way to gauge if, that lender is giving you a better rate than another one is by doing it, basically at the same time.
Yes.
So that's going to be a fun-filled day.
Set aside the time, though, because it could save you a lot of money in the long run.
A ton of money. You want a really good interest rate.
Yeah.
Right?
Because, if it's, most likely you're getting a 30-year mortgage, so it's a long time that you'll be paying that mortgage off.
Yep.
And I think that this is interesting. I didn't know that you could and should be shopping around for a better interest rate, or to get the best interest rate possible. So I think that this is super relevant, especially knowing that interest rates are rising right now.
Yeah.
But I think just being able to have that mindset of saying, oh, my bank, it might not be the ones who give me the best interest rate, but really searching out multiple options so that you have the ability
biggest,
to make a
most
choice.
obvious lender might not actually be the one that has your best interest in mind. I don't know.
Right.
So just, shop around and see what you can get. He also gave the tip to, you want to lock in your interest rate, so with your lender, the one that you agree on, right? You want to make sure that they lock that in with you, that or something less than that. And if they don't, because they didn't, do their job in time, then, AJ is a classy man.
He is.
And he would take that from the money that he would be making off of working with you, to pay back what you would have lost in losing that interest rate. It seems like that would be a lot of money, though, because isn't that like a lot of money over time?
Yes. I think so.
Like, what are you getting?
It probably depends on what the difference is, right?
Like if it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah. But yes, over 30 years, anything adds up, right?
Absolutely.
So
I know my husband and I were definitely doing the math on that. Because after the pandemic, we were in forbearance during the pandemic because we both were out of work. And so we refinanced when we, went back, into making payments again. And it was kind of great because interest rates dropped even more and they were already low and we got the house. And so, it wasn't a ton, it was a little bit, but after doing the math, we were like, oh wait, no, that saves us like $50 a month.
Wow.
Yeah, it was worth it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they tried to sort of There was a moment where they were like, oh, I'm not sure that that's right. But no, we ended up getting it and it was fine. We're like, no, we want the $50.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a promising story after a gloomy pandemic.
Exactly. Little silver lining there.
Yeah, you got to find those silver linings. Well, we're going to go to a little commercial break, and then we're going to come back and talk about this week's episode of Estate Planning 101. See you in a sec. Welcome back. We are going to talk about this week's episode of Estate Planning 101, when to transfer assets to your beneficiaries. When or how is best, right? Because if you do it, while you're still alive,
A living,
breathing,
guarantor, grantor.
there can be some tax benefits because I think you can. They said so. You can transfer up to $15,000, per person. So if you're a married couple, I think it's up to $30,000, right?
Yep.
To your beneficiaries tax free
Each year, which is really exciting.
That is exciting. So that's something, to keep in mind if you want to keep those tax dollars off of, that legacy money.
Exactly.
I'm sure your beneficiaries would appreciate it as well. I don't know.
If you have somebody who's possibly on Medicaid and has other things that Medicaid might not take care of, you can also do gifts through the trust as well, which I think, and therefore they're spelled out and help your beneficiary kind of navigate financially without them having to do too much.
Right. And trusts and wills are the most common ways of passing down your estate, basically. But the trusts can be more personalized.
Right.
So if you're in a situation, or say you have a young child and you don't necessarily want them to have all of the money at once because, imagine if you got, a bunch of money when you're 16, what are you going to do?
Right.
So, in circumstances like that, a trust might be, a good idea because then you can really personalize it and make it, the best thing for your beneficiary and their needs.
Right. Yeah, and I think one of the things, and this is for our trust with our daughter, if we both pass away, and we were able to specify exactly at what age she could get a percentage of our estate. So right now it's set up where she doesn't get it all at once. It's in stages so that
it's very specific.
It's very specific.
How much, what age?
How much, what age? And so that way, hopefully, she has, if something happens to us, she has some money when she's younger, right? But then she's not getting the bulk of the money until later on, way later on, when I feel like I was probably more financially responsible in my 30s, 40s, 50s.
Right.
Not in my 40s or 50s yet, but later on in life versus getting a lump sum when you're 16.
You'll likely get even more responsible.
Exactly. Here's hoping.
Right. You shouldn't backtrack, but we'll see. Who knows?
We'll see.
You might have a really special midlife crisis, and we don't,
That is true. It's very true.
Who knows what's in store?
I saw a very fancy car the other day, and the license plate said midlife. And you were like, okay, that's your midlife crisis. All right.
That is
spelling it out for everybody.
That is funny. They're not hiding it.
No.
It's for the world to see.
And who knows if it was a great financial decision. Maybe it was an emotional one, and I don't know.
Yeah, well, sometimes you just got to do what you got to do to get by, don't you? I feel like the whole idea of if you give, the money while you're still alive versus when you're not, I think there's something kind of nice about, I don't know, there's something very sad about that happening. And maybe them not seeing or me not seeing someday, what it's doing and how it's maybe helping. I think it would be nice, with my daughter someday to gift it to her while I'm still around. And or, if she needs it and I'm like, oh, if I do it right now, this is going to set her up for that money to grow or something, bigger in the future, and really pay attention to her life and her situation and kind of see when it is the best time,
Yeah, I think the nice thing is that you can choose, and I agree with you. I think that there is something about being able to see what they are able to do with the money while you're still alive.
And there wouldn't be sadness surrounding the money,
Right.
too. If my parents chose to do that now, it wouldn't come at the cost of something so great.
True.
It would be like a very beautiful like gift.
Right.
And they're here to see kind of how that would enhance my life in some way. And that to me would feel so much more special than it coming at a cost that I wouldn't want the money for, you know?
Yeah. No, I think that's very true. And I don't know if necessarily our parents' generation thinks of it that way. I feel like it might be a little bit, and this is a generalization, so I don't know if that's really the case.
Right.
As people are hopefully becoming more financially literate, hopefully our generation does do things a little bit differently.
You just think about it a little bit more, like, oh, these are some other options, you know, because I think you just associate inheritance with end of life.
Yes.
And it's not black and white as we're learning. It's not black and white, and it doesn't have to be black and white. And these are like conversations to have with our kids. And I just love that we're just talking about it as well and just keeping that conversation going, because the more that we talk about it, the more normalized it'll become.
Yep.
But yeah, also, you know, I think a lot of parents are worried about making any promises with money because they don't know what's going to happen with their health and caretaking, and they don't want to assume that like maybe you'll do the caretaking. You know, they want to set themselves up to be taken care of so they're not a burden on you. Again, another conversation that would be nice to openly, you know, have and just say like, I think I could do it and I want to do it, or say like, I'm not set up in a way where I can, whatever, but I think that's another conversation that, you know, a lot of families maybe aren't diving into, because I get it. You don't want to be a burden on your or feel like you're being a burden on your family.
Right.
So sometimes, you know, maybe they're like, I don't know what I'm going to do with that money because I don't know how long I'm going to live, or, you know, like that money might not be there by the time, you know, I go. So I don't know. Everyone's situation is different.
Everybody's situation is differently, and that's why, you know, but it does make sense to have somewhat of a plan so that you can figure out what you want to do.
Yeah.
And talking with your parents, if you're at that age, or if you're closer to retirement, and talking with your kids and talking it through what the plan is, that everybody is on board and there are no surprises.
Yeah.
Should somebody pass away, and that's when it's the first time people are seeing the will or the trust, and people are confused, and maybe they're not in it and they expected to be, or maybe they are in it. And
there can be some,
you know, there's a lot of tricky
tension
things that come
in
with inheritance. So
I've seen it, like siblings not speaking anymore because of it and things like that. You know, a heads up isn't always a bad thing. You know, you don't want to pass away and realize, well, you'll never, I don't know if you'll realize it. But wouldn't it be like sad to think that you've caused like a
rift in the family because
for
of,
like all of time?
Yeah.
Because like you just didn't say like, hey, this is what's going on. How do you feel about it?
Exactly.
You know?
In the case where maybe you put off getting a trust or a will put in place, and
so there isn't one.
Now the family has to deal with the fact that there was no plan. There's no way to know what the wishes were, except for maybe conversations that were had with different people at different times in your life, and your idea of what you want your money to do, or your estate to do, has changed.
Yeah.
And now it's going through probate. People
you don't want to go to
squabbling
probate court.
over it, or you know, having conversations that have lots of tension, instead of it being like, this is A, this is B.
Yeah, it becomes
C, D, and E.
it's consuming, you know, your children, your beneficiaries' lives at this point. And just to make it as easy of a transition as possible during what is often a really difficult time, you know?
I have a friend whose grandparents have this beautiful house. It's gorgeous, huge, and you know,
14 bathrooms. So if you watched the Madonna episode, I don't know if you caught it.
It was quite that big, but it was definitely a very fancy estate.
Yes.
And it was a place that the family gathered for many years. There were weddings. There were all sorts of family, you know, celebrations there. but it was written in their trust that once both grandparents had passed away, the house was sold so that nobody would fight over who got to have it.
Wow. Did they tell them?
Yes, everybody was aware ahead of time.
Okay.
And so
Did that help?
And it helped immensely because
Yeah.
people were prepared for it. I mean,
Right.
there was still a lot of sadness with
Right.
having to go through the home and,
Yeah.
clear it out.
Right.
But it was a known thing that
There's time to digest it
Yeah.
as a family
Right.
as well, and ask them questions to understand why they chose to do that, because that could be a lingering, issue for yourself emotionally too, just wondering why, your parent or grandparent or whatever made those decisions. And you don't want to have that.
No,
You want to be able to
nobody
have
wants
healthy closure. Financial wellness. It all comes back to financial wellness.
I know,
doesn't it?
exactly.
We're gonna have to plug this into our Healthy Wealthy Wednesday. Conversations about trust. Financial trust. Your trust of your estate. Man, that all could have meant so many different things. Wow, I think that's a good segue maybe into just our next topic. I think
Should we go to commercial break first?
I think we should probably go to a commercial break and let everyone have a little breather after that. We will see you soon for some more, I don't know,
Wine
and finance.
Yeah, wine and finance on a Friday night.
That's right. I'm back. Now we are going to dive into this week's episode of Life's Third Act, where they discussed scammers. With a Better Business Bureau investigator. A lot of alliteration.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
Better Business Bureau. Better Business. I can't.
She's better at that than me.
I got through it once.
It's okay.
Especially after. Are you kidding me? No. The BBB. They call it.
The BBB.
We can do that.
We'll shorten it too. We like acronyms around here.
We do.
The BBB, the Better Business Bureau.
Love 'em. Yeah.
Investigator Dawn O'Brien. And I think Joe and Jill and Dawn had a really interesting conversation about scammers and how seniors and elders are at higher risk.
Hot target. Yeah.
And a hot target for it, and how it's picked up during the pandemic. And just, it's sad. That's the thing, that just it kind of breaks my heart.
Yeah.
Hearing stories.
Well, and this one I thought was interesting too, because yes, they're targeting, retirees and things because they have accumulated a certain wealth, and these scammers like to come in and get you at, with increments, right? They get you with $300 here and there, and then they put you on a list.
The sucker list.
It's called the sucker list, and then they keep coming back for more, right? So that's why, they're a hot target, but this actually happens to everyone.
It does.
Yeah. So I liked this episode. Really did apply to everybody, and I feel like it's happened to everyone. I feel like everyone has a story,
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have gotten text messages from my bank saying that, I needed to contact them through this link in order to make sure that my money wasn't all gone.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know what that link did because I
didn't click it.
I double checked, this is a number that they don't use. And I actually screenshotted it and sent it to them so that they had it.
Right.
But it was my first instinct seeing it. I was like, oh no. What?
Well, it has to do with money or safety or
Social security number too is a big
numbers, one. Or getting in legal trouble or something. You panic.
Yeah.
I had this happen to me when I was very young. I had just moved to New York and I was working, and it was my first time having dealing with tax and stuff. I really didn't know that much about it. And I got a phone call from the IRS saying that I had committed tax fraud and the police were going to come get me. And I was so scared. I completely fell for it. Thank goodness. I called my dad and I was like, Dad, I think I'm going to go to jail. I think I committed tax fraud and I didn't even know it. And he was like, no, they're never going to call you, and that's not how it works. And don't worry, do not call that number back. I was like, I'm gonna have to call them. They said if I don't call them. I was so scared.
No, that is scary.
But it also seems like young people as well would be a very vulnerable group of people to target, because I easily could have, if I didn't have a relationship with my parents where I felt like I could call them, and if I thought I was actually in trouble, I would have called.
Right.
You know, I would have done anything to stay out of trouble. I wouldn't have known.
Right.
It sounded like they know what they're doing. They have a script. They know what they're saying. They sound really educated on these topics. So this is what they do.
It is. Yeah. I think one of the other ones that actually just makes me very sad is the grandparent scam.
Yeah.
Where they contact a senior and have figured out who their grandchild is, either through social media posts, or they just say your grandson. They might not say.
Just take a gamble.
Yeah, just take a gamble. Say, oh, they were arrested in Mexico and we need to bail them out. And in order to do that, you need to send me X amount of dollars.
They make it personal, right?
They make it personal. And who's not going to do that from their grandchild if they can?
Right. This kind of accessibility didn't exist when they were young either. So
Right.
it's all of these concepts are new anyway. So, you know, why would you think that somebody would be doing that? You know, and it's unfortunate that we have to be so aware of this reality that there are just groups, businesses, you know, that are out there doing this, and that's how, you know, they make a living, right?
Yes. Doesn't cease to amaze me what people will do for money.
Yeah.
But it does make me sad sometimes.
Yeah, and that they target people who are trusting.
Yeah.
You know, trusting. And then it's just, I don't know how they sleep that night. Man.
Same. I do find it, like, I thought one of the things that Dawn brought up was that they are asking for Target gift cards these days to be paid in Target gift cards. So get your grandchild out of jail in Mexico by sending us Target gift cards, which to me is just like red flag, red flag, red flag. But again, if it's your family member, you want to help them as much as you can, you do it. They used to use Walmart gift cards, but Walmart and the police have done a really good job about educating their cashiers so that when somebody is purchasing bulk gift cards, you know, spending $1,000 on gift cards, their cashiers are asking questions about what this is for to help prevent the fraud at that point.
Target needs to sit down with Walmart.
Or law enforcement,
Or law enforcement.
Or law enforcement needs to get in touch with Target. But I think that, it's an interesting, you know, the fact that education at that spot is helping to, I mean, right now it's just diverting it to a different retailer.
Right.
But you hope that you can close all those avenues and make it harder for
They'll
the
keep
scammers.
snaking through.
It's true. But
Of course.
you just make it as hard as possible, right?
I would never have thought gift cards.
Right.
You know? I mean, you'd think that would be a red flag if they're like, your granddaughter's in prison in, you know, Lithuania, and I need a Target gift card to get her out.
That seems spot on.
You think you'd be like, I don't know, that's a little suspect. No, but they're much better at it than I am, obviously. I'd be a horrible scammer. Yeah, I wouldn't be making any money. Well, I think that's a wrap for our 10th episode of The Wind Down.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's been
know,
10.
10.
That's wild.
Yep.
But thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week, and we'll be drinking some more wine with y'all.
Cheers.
Cheers.